Okay, let's dive right in. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're unpacking something really interesting, a legal battle that gets right to the heart of product labels and, well, what you think you're buying. We're looking at a pretty significant lawsuit involving a brand you might know, Raw Garden, specifically about their vape cartridges. Our goal here, cut through the jargon, figure out what this fight is really about, and see what it means for you when you're out there trying to choose products. We're drawing from Nug Notes, specifically their report on the Raw Garden's live resin lawsuit. This is more than just legalese. It's about expectations and transparency.
Absolutely. And it's fascinating, really, how these technical terms on a package can spark such major real-world consequences. It really hits home for consumers, you know. People looking for quality, for transparency, they rely on these labels.
Exactly. So let's get straight to it. What actually kicked off this whole legal challenge against Raw Garden? It centers on their vape cartridges, the ones labeled refined live resin. And this wasn't a minor complaint. It became a class action lawsuit filed back in 2020, I think, in the San Francisco Superior Court.
Right.
And the core claim, the big accusation from the plaintiffs, the consumers, was that these products weren't actually refined live resin, like the label said.
Okay, so what did they claim it was instead?
They alleged it was really distillate with reintroduced terpenes.
Ah, okay. That's a very different thing.
Huge difference, apparently. And the implication is serious misleading consumers, charging that premium price for something that allegedly wasn't the premium product advertised. It calls the whole product's integrity into question.
And integrity is the key word there. If we connect this to the bigger picture, this isn't just quibbling over words. It's about what people believe they're getting when they pay more for something specific. The legal claims themselves, false advertising, breach of warranty, they stem directly from that alleged mislabeling.
False advertising meaning the promotion was deceptive.
Precisely. And breach of warranty means it didn't live up to the promise implied by the description. In a market like this, which is, let's face it, still evolving pretty rapidly, consumers really depend on these terms. So clear, accurate descriptions, they're absolutely vital. It's foundational trust.
Trust, yeah, that keeps coming up. Okay, so to really understand why this difference matters so much, we need to define these terms. Live resin, distillate, refined live resin. They sound similar, but they're not interchangeable. Let's start with live resin.
Yeah.
What exactly is it? What makes it special?
Right. So live resin, its defining characteristic is how it starts. It's extracted from cannabis flower that's been frozen immediately after harvest, flash frozen.
Okay, frozen right away. Why?
Well, that freezing preserves the plant's more delicate compounds, especially the terpenes, the things that give cannabis its distinctive aroma and flavor. These terpenes are volatile, meaning they can easily degrade or evaporate during the typical drying and curing process. Freezing locks them in.
So you get more of the original plant's profile.
Exactly. You get a product that's packed with the native cannabinoids and, crucially, that full, complex terpene profile. It's prized for, well, for its intense flavor, its aroma, and also for what's called the entourage effect.
The entourage effect. We hear that term a lot. That's the idea that all the compounds work together synergistically, right? Not just THC on its own.
Precisely. It's like an orchestra versus a solo instrument. All the different cannabinoids, terpenes, flavonoids, they interact. Some might enhance certain effects, others might moderate them. It's that whole complex interplay that many people feel leads to a richer, more nuanced experience compared to isolates. That's what live resin aims to deliver.
Okay, that makes sense. Like preserving the whole symphony, not just the melody line.
Yeah.
So if live resin is that full, fresh frozen symphony, how does distillate compare? That's the other key term here.
Distillate is almost the opposite in philosophy. It goes through a heavy refinement process, usually involving heat and distillation. This process strips away almost everything except the target cannabinoid, typically THC or CBD. Waxes, fats, lipids, chlorophyll, and crucially, most of those native terpenes, they're removed.
So it's super purified.
Very purified. The goal is high potency of one specific compound. The end result is often this thick, clear oil, almost odorless and flavorless by itself. So, where live resin keeps the natural complexity, distillate is basically a highly refined, potent base, kind of a blank slate.
A blank slate. That's a really clear distinction. One's capturing complexity, the other's isolating purity. Okay, but then we get to the term at the center of the lawsuit. Refined live resin. That sounds like, well, like live resin, just maybe cleaner.
Exactly, and that's the ambiguity, isn't it? Refined live resin isn't a standard, universally defined industry term like the other two.
So it's open to interpretation.
Very much so. From a consumer's point of view, you hear refined, you probably think, okay, they took live resin and maybe cleaned it up somehow, removed some waxes, maybe made it smoother for vaping. But you'd likely expect it to still be fundamentally live resin, retaining that original terpene profile from the fresh frozen plant. A polished version, perhaps.
But that's not what the lawsuit alleges Raw Garden did.
No. The claim is that their refinement process went much further. They allegedly took the initial live resin, processed it in a way that stripped out many of those native terpenes and other compounds, essentially reducing it much closer to that blank slate distillate base we talked about.
Okay.
And then, and this is the really crucial part, they allegedly added terpenes back in.
Add them back. But weren't they trying to preserve them in the first place?
Well, that's the point. The allegation is that the reintroduced terpenes weren't necessarily the original ones from that specific batch of live resin.
Yeah.
They might have been cannabis-derived terpenes from other sources, or potentially even botanical terpenes, depending on the specifics of the claim.
Ah, I see. So it's not just adding terpenes, it's adding different terpenes than what was originally there. That changes the whole profile.
Fundamentally, it means you're not getting the unique fingerprint of the original plant and its specific entourage effect. You're getting something engineered.
So the plaintiffs are basically saying this refined live resin was, in practice, distillate that had flavor added back, not a refined version of the original live resin.
That's the core argument, and it matters for a couple of big reasons. First, authenticity. People pay a premium for live resin because of that unique natural profile. If it's stripped and rebuilt, even with other cannabis terpenes, it's arguably not the same thing. Second, there's often an economic angle. Making true live resin, handling the fresh frozen material carefully, it can be more expensive and complex than making distillate and adding terpenes later.
So potentially a cost-saving measure being marketed as a premium product.
That's certainly an implication raised in these kinds of lawsuits. The profit motive behind potentially mislabeling a product that's cheaper to produce.
Okay, this really does highlight the challenges when you have innovation moving faster than standardized definitions.
It absolutely does. What does refined really mean in this context? Without clear standards, you get these gray areas, and unfortunately, sometimes companies might push the boundaries of those gray areas. For you, the consumer, it really means you need to be, a bit more skeptical, perhaps. Ask more questions.
Definitely more vigilant. Now, the Nug Notes report adds another layer here. It says Raw Garden did initially make live resin.
Right, so they started with the proper material.
Yes. The lawsuit wasn't claiming they ever worked with fresh frozen flower. The focus was squarely on the final product that ended up in those vape carts labeled refined live resin.
Okay.
The claim was that whatever that initial live resin was, by the time it went through Raw Garden's refinement process, it became what the plaintiffs argued was distillate with reintroduced terpenes.
So the process itself is the alleged misrepresentation, transforming it from A to B, but still calling it a version of A.
Exactly. It wasn't about the starting point, but the end result being sold under that specific name.
And connecting that back.
Mm-hmm.
The heart of the claim is really about the integrity of that final product versus its description. Because for many consumers seeking out live resin, that difference between the naturally preserved terpenes and reintroduced ones is, it's critical.
Why so critical? Is it just taste?
Taste is a big part, the authenticity of the flavor. But it's also about the anticipated effects, that whole entourage concept we discussed. If you strip away the plant's natural balance and rebuild it, are you still getting that same synergistic effect? Many connoisseurs would argue you're not. It really boils down to, are you getting the genuine holistic experience of that specific plant, or are you getting something more like a reconstruction?
It sounds almost like comparing, say, fresh squeezed orange juice from specific oranges versus orange juice from concentrate that's had flavor packs added back in.
That's a great analogy, actually.
Yeah.
Yes.
Both might be labeled orange juice, but the process, the origin, the resulting flavor profile, they're fundamentally different experiences and usually priced differently, too.
Precisely. The single origin juice promises something specific about its source and minimal processing. The from concentrate version is, it's been deconstructed and reconstructed. Consumers paying for refined live resin likely thought they were getting the equivalent of that carefully handled, maybe lightly filtered, single origin product, not the reconstructed version.
Wow. Okay, this deep dive really shows how much can be hiding behind just a few words on a label. So let's just quickly recap. We've looked at the Raw Garden lawsuit over the refined live resin vapes. We've unpacked the key differences between true live resin, that full spectrum fresh frozen extract, and distillate, the purified stripped down base. And we've seen how the ambiguity around refined live resin became the battleground, touching on consumer trust, product integrity, and potentially economics.
And knowledge, it's most powerful when you understand it and can apply it. This whole case really underscores the need for transparency from producers. And for you, as the person buying these products, it highlights the importance of being informed, of looking past the marketing terms and understanding what they really mean. Knowing these differences helps you make choices that align with what you're actually looking for, whether it's that authentic terpene profile or something else. It empowers you.
It really does. So, a final thought to leave you with. Next time you're looking at a product label, any product really, how much attention will you pay to the terms used?
Yeah.
How much does knowing the process behind that product actually matter to you compared to just the brand name or the main ingredient? Something to think about. That's our deep dive for today. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time.